Happening now on Grid Tonight. Chase Elliott received a one-race suspension after colliding with Denny Hamlin during the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, who will replace NASCAR's most popular driver this weekend at Gateway. On the night of the chases, Chase Briscoe was given an L3 level penalty after NASCAR found a counterfeit part on his number 14 Ford Mustang. Will this severe penalty end his playoff hopes, or can he get a win to erase his major setback? IndyCar discovered the wheel tether from Kyle Kirkwood's car didn't fail when his tire went flying over the catch fence, barely missing fans in the grandstands. What went wrong then, and can IndyCar ensure that something like this never happens again? Hello to all of viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. With me is Joshua Birch and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. We encourage everyone to comment in the chat below and ask questions. Now, Josh, take it away with our top story this evening. As I said, it's a day of the chases in NASCAR.
Thank you, Kobe. Yes, after colliding with Denny Hamlin on the front stretch during the Coca-Cola 600, has suspended its most popular driver, Chase Elliott, for one race. So he'll miss this weekend's Cup race at World Wide Technology Raceway. An official studied data from Elliott's number 9 Chevrolet and determined that he intentionally wrecked Hamlin when he right-hooked the number 11 Toyota. A short while after the wreck happened, Hamlin went on social media and shared the SMT data from Elliott's car himself. This was the tweet as well. As you can see, removing all doubt, his steering came back to the exact same position it previously after we came off the wall. The higher the ENE on the steering, the further left it is going. Now, Elton Sawyer, NASCAR's senior vice president of competition, said NASCAR takes incident like this very seriously, and all their available resources helped them determine that Elliott's act was deliberate and no accident. Now, Sawyer added as well that he understands that things like this happen in the heat of the moment, but emphasizes that drivers need to handle situations like this in a different way, instead right-hooking someone and putting in harm's way. This will be Elliott's 7th missed race of the 2023 season. He missed the previous 6 races as well due to injury after breaking his leg in a snowboarding accident in Colorado. Right now, Elliott is currently 29th in the points, 81 points back from a playoff spot on points. He'll definitely need a win. He definitely needs to win a race to earn a position as well for the post-season berth. Now, Hendrick Motorsports said they understand NASCAR's decision and the need to have consistent rulings in these situations, so they don't plan to appeal the suspension. The photo taken there by Sean Gardner from Getty Images. Matt, coming to you after Bubba Wallace got suspended for a similar action against Kyle Larson last fall at Las Vegas. Did NASCAR make the right call to suspend Chase Elliott? And is there a clear precedent now set that right-hooking someone won't be tolerated?
Good evening, Josh. Hello, everyone watching around the world. And yes, this is the right call, I feel. I haven't seen the race with all the things that were going on over the weekend and the delays in Charlotte. I haven't actually seen the whole thing. So I've seen the incident, obviously. I made sure to watch that because we knew we were going to be talking about it tonight. I don't know if there was anything else that happened before this, or was it just that incident, but whatever. There wasn't anything that happened at Las Vegas before Bubba turned Kyle Larson in the wall last October. So the precedent has been laid down. This does seem like the right penalty, and Clint Boyer had it bang on straight away in the replays as it happened live on the Fox broadcast. He called it straight away that was Chase hooking Denny, typical Denny, jumping on the social media and trying to prove a point. But he's right. It's the right call. It shouldn't be tolerated. Does Chase need to be getting in these scrapes when he's already in a bit of a hole after his accident and injury, as you mentioned from earlier on in the year? Probably not. Does he need to be doing it in that point of the race? Certainly not. This has to be the line in the sand on this. And that's twice now in 6 months or so not including the off season, that this is now a very, very similar incident, as Denny mentioned in his post medical interview outside the care centre on Monday, whenever it was now. All of the days of the weekend have melded into one. They had to slap Chase with this one, and it does put him in a bit of a hole now. Okay, maybe Gateway at the weekend maybe wouldn't have been a track that would have suited him. Maybe, who knows? Because he's not going to be there now on Sunday to go for a race win.
Yes, and as you say, with Elliott now suspended, it means that two drivers will benefit from his misfortune. Corey LaJoie will replace Elliott in the number 9 Chevrolet, as well, getting the biggest opportunity of his career so far after overachieving in performance this season in his regular Spire Motorsports ride as well. And a few years ago, when Jimmy Johnson announced his retirement from full-time racing in NASCAR, LaJoie famously wrote team owner Rick Hendrick a letter asking to be considered as a potential replacement for Jimmy Johnson in the number 48 Chevrolet. Now, a few years later, LaJoie will be finally getting to make his debut in a Hendrick car. This is Corey LaJoie's tweet as well. I hate the circumstances that it's under, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity that Mr. H has provided. I'm looking forward to being with Hendrick Motorsport this weekend and supporting a Chevy family driver as well. When reflecting on the journey to this point, he remembered there used to be a Twitter account, Did Corey Crash, that would say something every time LaJoie was involved in an on-track incident early in his career. LaJoie even admitted when he wrote that letter to Mr. Hendrick, he wasn't ready for an opportunity like that back then, but he intends to make the most of his one-off drive in top-tier race-winning equipment. With LaJoie in the number 9 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series regular, Carson Hosvar as well will make his Cup debut in the number 7 Chevrolet to replace LaJoie for this one race. The photo taken there by Chris Graytham as well from Getty Images. Matt, back to you on that one. Can LaJoie win at Gateway in a Hendrick car to secure a playoff spot for his regular Spire Motorsports team? And how big is this one race for his career?
Of course he can. And what a fairy tale story it would turn out to be. He almost won last year at Atlanta, let's not forget, when he was up front on a late restart, battling Chase Elliott for the victory. And it didn't quite happen. But of course, Corey can get up there. He's one of those sort of underrated guys. He's having a tremendous season, as you commented on. He's only a good handful of points outside the playoff cut line at the moment as it stands. So maybe in a better equipment, that will certainly help him out in the points race to get himself closer to the cut-off line. I guess now we're into the summer months, we really do need to be watching out for what's going on down there at the cut line over the next couple of months as we head towards the end of August. But yeah, of course he can win. And he's got certainly a better opportunity to get himself a good result. One little other wrinkle to this story, of course, is Carson Hocevar getting the call up. He won't be at Portland, where the Grid Network will be this weekend for the Xfinity race, because he'll be at Gateway. Carson, of course, has already had his wrist slap this season already for right hooking people. That was at Martinsville in a couple of months ago. So how the sliding doors of this story meld themselves together. But very happy for Corey to get this opportunity. Let's hope he can make the most of it.
Let's catch up on some of the chat then as well. Behind the mic, hello, Matthew, says Chase Elliott had a chance, though small, to point his way into the... I'm going to reread that as well, because even I'm making mistakes. Chase Elliott had a chance, though small, to point his way into the playoffs. Now he doesn't because of this stupidity. Adam has said, amen, 100%, 110%, Matthew. And Matthew also goes on to put, and now because of Chase's stupidity, Corey has a legitimate chance to get into the playoff picture as well. Adam agrees, and also adds, don't forget, Corey LaJoie's father has plenty of NASCAR knowledge. Randy was a NASCAR Busch Series champion, of course, Matt, as well. So this is looking great already, into the fact that it's sort of just bringing it home to maybe he's going to do something special this weekend.
All these second generation drivers getting chances in other second generation drivers' cars. It's the way of the world at the moment, it seems. But yeah, I think I have to agree with Matt, and we'll come on to pointing people's way into the playoffs on our second story shortly. But Chase Elliott had that chance of potentially getting in. Now with another race missing, that's probably out of the window. We know how good he is on the road courses, although that kind of slipped away a little bit last year. That might be one of his best opportunities to get back in. We've got a couple of those obviously to come through the summer, including the Chicago street race. So that might be his best chance now. He'll have to go for a win when he comes back. The discussion about who we should give or not give waivers to, of course, has come up with this now as well, because that's what 7 races, as you mentioned, now he's going to end up missing, unless there's more to come after this if something else happens. That's probably another discussion for another day. Maybe we'll pick up on that next week.
Yep, and I don't think on a note that Chase Elliott should really be considered for the waiver, considering that he's been banned from an event. So maybe that'll be something going forward. But I'm sure it's going to ramble on as we go. Should we move on to the second story? All good? Yeah.
Let's do that.
Let's do that. Okay, another NASCAR story as well, because just over an hour before tonight's show, NASCAR's handed down a significant penalty to Stewart Haas racing driver Chase Briscoe after a counterfeit part was discovered. Briscoe's number 14 team was issued an L3 level penalty, the most severe punishment in the system. Briscoe was docked 120 owner and driver points, a loss of 25 playoff points if Briscoe makes the postseason, a $250,000 fine, and crew chief Johnny Kalsmere has been suspended for the next 6 races. Now, once again, Elton Sawyer told NASCAR.com they found an engine panel, NACA duct, the NACA, duct not in compliance with the NASCAR rulebook. Now, this penalty shakes up the early push to the playoff in a major way, because Briscoe was only 4 points outside a playoff spot before the penalty. Now he's 124 points behind and down to 31st in the driver's standings. Briscoe had up and down season. Some weeks he looks strong and other weeks missing in action with no speed. For the remainder of the regular season, Briscoe will be in a must-win situation. The photo taken there by James Gilbert from Getty Images as well. Matt, given the inconsistencies we've seen at Stewart Haas racing this season, how confident are you that Briscoe can win a race and get into the playoffs?
As a bit of dust blows past me. No, not confident. Sorry, I don't know if that was on the camera or not. Not confident at all. Me and Kobe were chatting just before we went on air. He had a little run, did Chase Briscoe. He was at Bristol, Martinsville and Talladega. He had 3 top 10s in a row. But otherwise, he's been nowhere. Ryan Preece in one of their other cars has really been a non-factor after everyone talked him up after his great run at the Clash in the opener to the season. He had a good run at Martinsville for part of that race, but then faded. Eric Almirola has also been a bit of a yo-yo this season. Kevin Harvick has, again, as per last season, waved the SHR flag. But this is a massive penalty for Chase Briscoe. And it's going to be 2 chases chasing a win to get themselves into the chase. Oh, no, it's not called that anymore. For the playoffs later on in the year. But, big penalty for Briscoe. Hopefully, and I'm talking of precedents, they will. Remember a couple of months ago when Austin Dillon had their penalty for whatever part that was found to be irregular. NASCAR put it on show in the garage in the next race for everyone to see. Hopefully they do the same with this, because a big penalty and big points penalty, big monetary penalty, and Johnny Klossmeyer missing for 6 races is also big. Just at this point of the season, as we talked about with Chase Elliott, where you need to be getting the points and getting your momentum going towards that end of the season push. And Briscoe was, as you said, just teetering on the outside of the playoffs looking in. He needed a good couple of weeks. And now that, unless, he can get some magic going with whoever they get in to be the standing crew chief for the next 6 weeks. Of course, as you said, this news only broke an hour or so before we went on air. So, I'm guessing that Tony Stewart will have steam coming out of his ears, and they'll be scrambling to try and find a replacement. Matthew says this has ended Briscoe's championship hopes. Even if he wins to make the playoffs, he's not going to be able to overcome the playoff point penalty this is him done. So yeah, I agree. If he picks up a win at somewhere like a Michigan or New Hampshire, gets himself in, then he probably is going to be everyone's guaranteed first round dropout once we get to the playoffs, because the playoff point penalty is just as big as the penalty that they've got for the regular season championship. So a big penalty. 25 playoff points is the equivalent to 5 race victories. That team is nowhere close to a win a race, certainly not 5. And as I said, he's only got 3 top 10s to his name all season long. So big NASCAR penalty news week, and both of them including the chases.
I suppose we could bill it as the chases chase for the chase. That could be something. Shame. That's playoffs, not chase. Anyway, okay. Moving on then to our hot topic for this evening as well. And it certainly was a hot topic when we all watched it happen live on Sunday. The Entity IndyCar Series is continuing to investigate a scary incident in the closing laps of the Indianapolis 500's 107th running. When Felix Rosenqvist got into the wall, lost control of his car, spun up the track into Kyle Kirkwood, sending one of Kirkwood's tires flying in the air over the catch fence and barely missing spectators sitting in the grandstand. Take a look at this photo right here from Indy Star photographer Jeff Richards. You can see the shock and fear on their faces as some people in the crowd duck, fearing the tyre might come flying their way. We got very lucky on Sunday with the tyre missing everyone in the grandstands and landing on someone's parked car instead. Fun fact, the car that it landed on was actually somebody who worked at the tracks Chevrolet. Little fun fact there that ABC Channel 10 picked up as well. So there's something I found out the other day. And she was told to park there by the senior marshal at the turn 2 corner. That's something you can find out as well. It's quite fun. IndyCar statement, the photo taken by Chris Owens from Penske Entertainment. This is what it says as well. Unfortunately, I can't read it because it's got the live image on it as well. At the very beginning, so if I full screen I might be able to see it. IndyCar takes the safety of the drivers and fans very seriously. We are pleased and thankful that no one was hurt. As a series known for innovation for the last 24 years, IndyCar has mandated a wheel suspension tether, that's the energy management system, which uses high-performance Xylon material. It can withstand a force of over 22,000 pounds. IndyCar was the first sanctioning body in the United States to require its use, and IndyCar is in possession of the tyre involved in yesterday's incident as well. Sorry, I'm just keeping a look here because it keeps moving on me. And has found that the tether did not fail. This is an isolated incident, and the series is reviewing to make sure it does not happen again. Well, that was a bit tiny, and then it just kept flicking out as well because Matt White I was clicking his camera. I didn't want to turn him off. Kobe and Matt both back in as well. Does it surprise you, Kobe, when they say the wheel tether didn't fail? And how confident are you that we'll see IndyCar find a solution to prevent a freak accident like this from happening again?
I'm not an engineer. I don't understand all the technical things with the car, but it does surprise me that the wheel tether didn't fail. And if that didn't fail, I'm wondering what did. And IndyCar is typically transparent in these situations. Once they find out what on earth happened here, I'm sure they're going to come out with another statement with a more detailed description, and knowing how seriously they take safety like any other racing series out there, I'm sure they're going to be able to find a solution to make sure something like that doesn't happen again. When we go to the racetrack these days, we don't really expect to see a wheel go flying over the catch fence towards the grandstands. And bringing back that photo right here, this is just a scary sight. Could you guys imagine just sitting in the stands and all of a sudden here comes a tire flying above your head, wondering where it's going to land? And still to this day, a few days after the Indy 500, I still cannot believe how lucky we were to escape a horrible tragedy there. That tire very well could have flown into the stands and hit a fan, but thankfully there was an opening for the tire to land safely. It was unfortunate that person's car ended up getting destroyed in the front, but better to take a car than alive.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely dodged a huge bullet. Could have been one of the biggest Indianapolis bullets of all time on Sunday afternoon with that incident. I have to say, if Kobe, if you can bring that photo back up again of the wheel flying through the air, if you look closely, just underneath the wheel, there is a guy in an Argentinian football shirt, and just above his head to the left, you can see suspension elements sticking out at the bottom of that wheel. So, yes, I would have to agree with what's been said. The tether hasn't failed because the tether is still attached in between the wheel and the suspension arms. It has ripped that whole corner, the left rear corner of Kyle Kirkwood, who at that time was motoring forward and probably had a shot to win the race, out of that car. So there has not been a tether issue. I just got one of those feelings that this is just one of those scary incidents where speed and force and angle has come into play, and it's just found the weak point somewhere in that corner, and it's ripped that whole corner of Kyle's car out. And as you say, we were very, very fortunate that did miss the grandstand, and thankfully there wasn't anybody milling about in the car park area where the golf carts were and everything else. If that had ended up in concession stands or bathroom areas down there, porta cabins or whatever, then that could have been really, really scary. Matthew says Roger Penske will figure it out. He always does. Yeah, I think he and IndyCar will take this as far as they can to come up with some kind of solution. We talked on the USRN call of the race on Sunday that if this is going to be a thing, then they're going to have to raise the debris fences up. Maybe that will be a thing for the ovals, especially over the next year or two. But just a freak incident. Unfortunately, it took out two of the fastest cars on the day, and thankfully, as we keep saying, no one was hurt by that. But we'll see what comes of it over the next couple of weeks and months.
You said confession, and now all I've got in my mind is literally all I've got in my mind, Matt, is of a priest in a confession box with just a tire.
I know.
Alongside. It's all I've got.
Freudian slip of the tongue, wasn't it? In the things we were talking about, I apologise profusely for that.
I know Pirelli ended up in there. Forgive me, Father, because I have punctured. Anyway, to be fair, yeah. Anna says, Josh, when we called the Indy 500 on Sunday, we were all worried at the time about the... Yeah, we were. And Adam, you can remember as well, we were in the commentary box. The whole team of us, about 8 of us were in the commentary box. But I said in the commentary when that crash happened, I did not spot Kyle Kirkwood upside down in the barrier. I knew he was hit the barrier. I didn't spot him upside down. My eyes immediately went to the top of the screen because that wheel was just flying over. And then all of a sudden, you can hear my surprise. If you watch the commentary back, I'm going, oh, there's the tyre from right in. Has it hit it? And all of a sudden, oh, he's upside down. And it just came so fast. And then we had the red flag out and then all that drama. Because I've been on the show, actually, live since the Indy 500 because with the pre-show interfered with F1 and then wrap-up got delayed because of the washout at Charlotte. So, yeah, I think... Looking at that wheel, you're right. The suspension's still there. So I did think when we had that image up as well, and we were talking about it, could he have hit it at such an angle where the nut had come off, and that's why the tire got loose? But you're right. The suspension is still there, so the tethers didn't fail. The whole rear suspension is just sort of broken away from the tub and housings as well. It's just flown off at awesome speed. I did raise the question as well. Are they now going to increase the height of the safer barriers? I think it's now a must at these tracks as well, because I think that we've been, the cars been getting faster and we've been sort of flirting dangerously before. This is a wake-up call. It happened in the 80s, didn't it? With NASCAR, when they hit the wall at one point as well. I can remember that, but we very nearly had a horrific accident for IndyCar here, and I think we all got very, very lucky. And another thing with it as well, I think everyone's been thinking about driver safety ever since everything that happens, well, we've got the new aero screen with the F1 halo in it and the Red Bull aero screen built in. We've got the safer barriers. We've replaced the catch fencing, but only so that it protects the drivers. Everything in the past few years have been about driver safety, especially since Robert Wickens' crash at Pocono. But I don't think there's been enough on fan safety. Ever since the car's been getting faster and faster, and catch fencings, we keep seeing they're ending up, and it's starting to break as well. Not just in IndyCar, but in other series around the world, we've seen catch fencing at older circuits that haven't been replaced in a while. I think it's time for a complete rethink of the fan safety as well as the driver safety. Cars are getting quicker. Cars are getting more and more adaptable. Things do fail. And when they fail, it's getting harder and harder to police it. It's not the 1950s anymore when it's a slower accident. Now we're at fastest speed ever in qualifying. It's getting dangerous. So fan safety must come into that. And I'm hoping for next year we see across the entire oval circuits in America, not just in IndyCar, but in NASCAR as well, and all the others, ARCA, Truck Series, everywhere we race, everywhere that has an oval circuit, the safer barriers must be higher and must be more protecting for the fans, because it's either that or we end up not racing because, as nearly happened, a wheel ends up, or there was another bit, actually, one of the bits of the carbon fiber. And this is why I'm so passionate about it as well. A bit of carbon fiber about as big as that, so about the width of my microphone, flew into the crowd. And this was again on that ABC news article. You can find it if you YouTube it as well. Little piece like that hit a little girl here, just on the chin. She's got no damage or other, nothing at all. Absolutely fantastic. There's not a cut on her. Brilliant. But it was here on the cheekbone. If it was just a little bit higher, it could have blinded her. It could have anything. And I don't like that idea. So fan safety is a must. Think about Formula One in Australia at as well. Kevin Magnussen, a piece of debris with the tyre failing, flew up over the catch fencing and gashed a fan's arm as well. And it was, you remember, it was bleeding and everything. Yeah. So it's not just in IndyCar. It's happened already on a road course. The catch fencings have got to be higher. They've got to catch these things. We can't cover the entire circuit in like chicken wire, like you see at Dodgems. It's not possible. But the catch fencings need to be higher and slightly more curved just to try and keep the stuff in. Because that's twice this year now. And that in the space of 2 months, in 2 different series at 2 different parts of the world. So obviously, the regulated height isn't high enough. So, yeah. Is anyone got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'm just going to say, one of those trends of things we see, isn't it? Like, now we've had it twice, as you say, at Albert Park, okay, temporary barrier, and an IMS, which is obviously is there 12 months of the year. But how high do you go? And we can't have the fans outside of some sort of glassed perspex bubble, because that just takes away. It's a conundrum, but in the world of H&S that we now are living in this century, that we probably weren't, as you say, maybe even 15 years ago. Something certainly will need to happen. I'm sure IndyCar and IMS will look at that. Of course, they did extensive catch fencing changes after Dan Weldon's crash in 2011, and that was brought again into light with, as you mentioned, Robert Wickens' crash at Pocono, and Mike Conway's scary crash at IMS. What was that, 2010 at the end of the race with Ryan Hunter-Ray was also catch fencing involved in that. So again, let's hope and pray that there isn't. When's the next oval for IndyCar? Is Iowa. Okay, much shorter ovals, slower speeds. But we know how packed Iowa was last year.
Start line crash.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be another sellout, you can be sure, if they do the activation again at Iowa like they did last year. So let's hope they can draw a line under that in terms of things potentially going wrong, and the people that are much more intelligent than the 3 of us can come up with some kind of solution for it not to happen again.
Sounds fantastic as well. And with 30 minutes gone in the programme, it's time to throw back to Matt White as well for the latest on the grid EPI update.
Thank you, Josh. And we had a little bit of a quieter weekend this weekend in the EPI. We'll bring you the winners, as we always do, at the start of the segment from the races just gone. And our first and only sort of sprint championship that we include in the Endurance Performance Index got underway at the weekend in Germany. That was the DTM, running to GT3 specification now, of course, and as most of the drivers in that championship run in most of the other championships that we cover in the EPI, we thought it's time to include, and we did it last year too. So they get their season underway, a very late start for DTM, as it kind of always is, at the end of May. But 2 races at the weekend at Oschersleben in Germany, 2 wins, one for Frank Pereira, his first DTM win for Lamborghini on Saturday afternoon, and then Christian Engelhardt coming through for Porsche on Sunday in a Porsche wash. They clean swept the podium on Sunday. So they were the 2 winners there. And at Donington Park on the Grand Prix circuit on Sunday afternoon, we had the 4th race of the British GT Championship. Johnny Adam and James Cottingham getting their 2nd win of the season at Donington. Let's have a look at the scores. Completely unchanged from last week. So that is your week 8 top 10. It's exactly as it was last week as well. No one in the top 10 raced at the weekend. And probably won't this weekend as well, because most of them will be at Le Mans, because it's the Le Mans test on Sunday. Big news actually breaking this afternoon that there's all kind of manner of weight changes going on with the hypercars up at the top end of town. Toyota have been hit massively with I was going to say a weight break, but a weight addition. So that will come into focus across the weekend, and then when we get to race week next week. So that's the top 60. We do have a couple of races this weekend, which will of course bring you the winners of on next week's segment. On Saturday afternoon at Paul Ricard is the next round of the GT World Challenge Europe. That's their 1,000 kilometer race, starts in the dusk and runs through to midnight France time. So that's always an entertaining race. And the next round of Super GT is on Sunday morning at Suzuka. And because it's the 3rd round of Super GT, all their regular season drivers will become eligible for the grid EPI as we head into week 9. So we could see a bit of a shuffle around in terms of some people and positioning in that EPI top 60, which you're looking at on the screen. We'll bring you all of the update from that, though, on the show next week. But right now it's time to head back to Kobe for the rest of this week's news.
Thanks, Matt. Next, more motorsports news from around the world. Ex-Formula One driver Roberto Merhi will join Mahindra Racing for the remainder of the Formula E season, beginning with this weekend's Jakarta E-Prix doubleheader. This move comes after Mahindra and Oliver Rowland mutually agreed to part ways. A few hours after this move was announced to the public, all Rowland had to say on social media was "wow" in capital letters. Meanwhile, Merhi said it's an honor to step in and race in Jakarta, but acknowledges that Formula E is different compared to his previous racing series with a steep learning curve. Merhi already did the Berlin rookie test with Mahindra, so he's not going into this experience completely blind. Photo courtesy of Mahindra. With the Le Mans test day only a few days away, Toyota Gazoo Race announced that Super GT and Super Formula driver Ritomo Miyata will become a WEC Challenge Program driver. The WEC Challenge Program aims to develop and nurture drivers who may have a future in the FIA World Endurance Championship. Miyata will spend time in the simulator at Toyota headquarters in Cologne, Germany, and participate in other development work. He'll also be on site integrated with the team at Le Mans, Monza, and Fuji to get more familiar with the WEC atmosphere. Photo courtesy of Toyota Gazoo Racing. With Andretti Autosport preparing to move into a new facility to better support its ambitions across motorsports, Arrow McLaren will move into its current IndyCar. Will move its current IndyCar team into the current Andretti headquarters in 2025. The 89,000 square foot facility will offer Arrow McLaren nearly triple the amount of space it currently has as a current facility. Since the beginning of last year, the team has expanded from 2 to 3 cars full-time, with potentially a 4th full-time entry in 2024. Zach Brown said they would be making that decision later this summer. Plus, their number of employees have multiplied by 150%. And Zach Brown also said that he's excited for the team to have a new home, giving them space and fit for the purpose of competing for wins and championships as they continue plans to keep growing in the future. And before we move on to the next segment, Matthew Owens said that, and we also had Colton Herta go airborne at Iowa a couple of years ago. I remember that race, Matthew. That was a really scary crash. I was sitting in my aunt's house with a really bad sinus infection, so that's how I remember that race. And next, we're going to move on to everyone's favorite game, because we have a few races that are going to happen before this weekend's pre-race show. Pick a winner.
Yes, a couple of bits and pieces to talk about in terms of pick a winner. Alex is now the pick a winner leader, as you can see there, top of the board on 16 points. But you remember a couple of weeks ago when the three of us were all tied and just behind Ed? That seems like a long time ago now, doesn't it? Because I've all slipped all the way down to seventh place. So I've had a couple of shocking weeks. We have Formula E at the weekend, a double header in Jakarta this year after the success of last year's race. They've added one. So Saturday and Sunday Formula E races to choose from. And the next round of the WRC, Rally Sardinia Italia on the island. So let's go with our picks for the Saturday Jakarta race first. And I can't pick against the curve. Got to go with Nick Cassidy to win on Saturday for Envision.
Sorry.
It's all good. Nick Cassidy certainly has a lot of momentum coming into the Jakarta E-Prix. But for race one, I'm going to go with one of the Jaguar drivers, Sam Burton. Next, I'm going to throw it over to Josh. And Josh also had one other question for you regarding the news about Roberto Merhi replacing Oliver Rowland. It kind of surprised me to see Oliver Rowland say "wow" in capital letters as soon as this announcement came out. Was actually a few hours after it came out. So along with your pick a winner, if you've heard anything about the situation with Rowland and Merhi, you wanted to add additional context, feel free to do that.
Well, if Ed Hunter's in the chat, which I know he is, who says Roberto Merhi is a great super sub, kind of the Nico Hulkenberg of the F1 junior ladder, he should do a respectable job at a short notice. Ed should be on the similar lines, and Ed, please do correct me, but I believe all this with Oliver Rowland and Mahindra started a few rounds ago, and it was actually a disagreement between the two, and the team and him have sort of had a massive falling out, which is why he's no longer in the car. I think he said something in the media that was very disrespectful towards Mahindra, and so they've just sort of got rid of him. If only we knew some other people, who was been let go this week. Anyway, so moving away from that, I think it's kind of all change actually for Formula E this weekend. It's going to be quite different going into Jakarta, and I'm quite looking forward to it as well. Ed's not actually in the commentary box for that one. He's being replaced by Nick Homewood as well because Ed's going camping, I believe. So that's a good reason to miss it. But still, so. Ed, not got Ed I've got as well. I've got Nick Homewood, so that's going to be fun to commentate with him. But I don't want to commentate on the race. I want to turn up my earphones and listen to the wonderful Ben Edwards commentating on the Formula E as well for the next 7 races. And I understand a move that might be permanent after this season. It depends on how he likes it. So I kind of want to listen to Ben in the commentary because I love his commentary. I always have. So that's going to be fun. For Formula E's race win number 1, I'm going to go with Dix. No, I'm going to change my mind on that one. Actually, I'm going to go with Pascal Wehrlein. I think Pascal Wehrlein will win because it's a Porsche style track. So I'll go with Pascal Wehrlein to win race number 1. Ed said I picked Eduardo Mortara and Sebastian Buemi on the FEZ show, which I'm still editing as my Jakarta picker winners. Buemi could be up there. He was very close last year. And behind the mic says, great show as always tonight, guys. I've got to go to bed before it gets much later. Have a great rest of your week and weekend. Yeah, it's 12:44 over there, of course, because you're not in America. You're in France now, Matt. So I hope you're enjoying it. And if you need anyone to cover Detroit Street Circuit, hello. Unless you're doing it, Matt.
I think me and Matt are going to end up doing it together on Sunday. Then looking forward to IndyCar at a new circuit in downtown Detroit. That will be part of Pick a Winner at the weekend. Formula E, very different going into this weekend with driver changes and presenter changes and commentary changes. It's going to be an interesting outlook to Formula E in Jakarta at the weekend. One more pick winner to do than that is the WRC. Back for round 6, I think, off the top of my head, maybe 5, can't remember. After Cali Rovanperä finally broke through a couple of weeks ago to get his first win of the season and take the points lead away in Portugal with a dominant display, which means he'll lead the road order on Friday. So pick him at all costs, but I kind of don't think he's going to win it. I keep picking Thierry Neuville, hoping that he'll do it and they can dedicate a victory to the late Craig Breen. But I'm not going to do that this week. I'm going to go with Oyt Tanak to win in Sardinia.
Yeah, Tonic is a really good pick. And for in the last round, for the first time, Collie Roving Pair finally got me a pick a winner point after I've been picking him for the longest time. So I think I'm just gonna keep it safe and stick with him this time around and say Collie Roving Pair is gonna win this time around in Italy.
I have not a clue. It's not my area. I've completely tuned out, I'm afraid. Which one's racing? Is it Loeb or the other one?
Neither of the Sebs.
Oh, okay. Neither of the Sebs. Okay.
I don't think.
That's a shame.
Certainly not Loeb, but
Okay,
I think Oj's
give
back
me
to
hand
Kenya,
then.
which is the next round.
Give me a good suggestion. I trust you. Give me an idea.
I'd go with Tanak just so that you don't
Right.
go further ahead of me if you get it right and I get it wrong.
Oh, right. Okay, fine. Okay,
You
fine.
see what I mean?
I'll go with Tanak then. I'll go with you. Ed says, I think Roland's mood has been quite low for a while. Dilbag Gill brought him into Mahindra and then was replaced by Frederick Bertrand as well, who I think Roland had a much frostier relationship with. Yeah, it certainly looked like it as well throughout the season. And I'm quite surprised. I think Oliver Roland was one of the stars of Formula E. So I'm quite disappointed to see him go. And as you said, it's a whole change. It's the first race in Formula E history without either Nicky Shields, Jack Nicholls, or Dario Franchitti. It's the first one as well.
Wow.
So a whole new feel for Formula E as well. Radzie's presenting. I'm really looking forward to Radzi presenting that. He's such a technical knowledge about sports as well. Saunders is in the pit lane. And we've got Karun Chandhok and Ben Edwards in the commentary box. I don't know whether Ben's actually there or not. I think he's there in Jakarta because he doesn't travel a lot these days. But I'm looking forward to hearing Ben in my ears. I'm going to turn him up on one of the faders and just listen as well. I might miss a couple of things from Nick Homewood, which is interesting. But yeah, so I believe it's time for Hots and Knots, is it not?
It is. Hots and Knots, is it not? I'm going to copy Kobe and go with Calais, says Ed. So yeah, Hots and Knots from a very busy weekend. I'm kind of struggling with a hot, so I'll leave you with the floor open, Josh, for your hot then for the week.
Hot for me. It's quite difficult because it was Monaco and it wasn't really that great. And then the Indy 500 kind of let us down at the end. So it is quite difficult, isn't it? A hot from the week. I will go for... I think Marcus Ericsson. I think he'll be my hot only because he had such a golden opportunity. Which side of you fence you sit on as well, whether Newgarden deserved it or Ericsson deserved it, whatever. Ericsson, for the first time, I think, since 2001, 2002 with Casio Neves, had a shot at doing back to, and it's rare we see that these days. And for Ericsson to have that pace in that car 2 years running, I think was mighty special. So I think he'll be my hot. I did actually mispronounce a couple of times when the trophy in the milk was saying, Marcus Ericsson gets it, because I couldn't think it wasn't Newgarden because it kept triggering me. So I think Ericsson's a hot. I'm not throwing Newgarden as well because he's deserved it. He's been after the 500 for a number of years, and it was some stellar overtaking and some stellar racing. It's a shame, though, that a 500-mile race was decided by 2.5 of those miles.
Yeah, we'll get into that potentially in a minute. I've actually just come up with two hots while you've been chatting.
Oh, nice.
And one of them is Newgarden's celebration was just excellent.
Yes, love that.
Which is cool. And my other hot from a drab weekend in Monaco, more of it to come in not shortly, is Esteban Ocon getting a podium.
Yes.
Because don't forget, a couple of weeks ago, we chatted on this show about how terrible Alpine season was going and Laurent Rossi was giving them a kick up the bum. And Esty Bestie, as he's suddenly being called on social media, is on the podium.
I've no idea where that's come from as well. He says
I have no idea either.
I know. Ed says, Radzi is great. Nice to see the new talent get a chance to shine. If Ben Edwards is up for F3, it could be you doing, Joshua. Do you know what? I honestly, I did email Mark Preston. Mark, if you're watching, please give me the TV director. Put us in together as well. I'll do it next year. I'll do it for half the money that Ben Edwards is doing it. In fact, I'll do the first 3 rounds for free. And if they don't like me, then get rid of me. I'll get there and I'll do the commentary. And trust me, if you don't like me after 3 races, you can get rid of me. I'll even do a practice session. Just put me in that box and trust me, you'll never get rid of me. Adam says Ruven Para for pick a winner regarding WRC as well. Ericsson's response to defeat I felt was very classy considering how upset he was. Yeah, I think it was quite good.
Yeah, he had a small whinge, but I think he was felt aggrieved, and rightly so. Don't forget, obviously, if you're going for the Formula E job, Josh, you can only do that until A1GP comes back, as we discussed on the show last week.
Yeah. To be fair, do you know what? Sorry, side topic as we discussed last week as well. Do you know what? I got R Factor back. You might remember it as well. The R Factor Special Edition. Look, here it is, the PC. And back when I had it 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, all that lot, I didn't have the ability to download mods, even though it was very simple because it was the family computer. And they always go, oh, you're breaking the computer. Never did break the computer. What actually broke the computer was the virus that was put on the computer by somebody else. So, so I downloaded it back as well onto this PC. And I've downloaded all the mods. And do you know what I downloaded? Because I've got it working today. I downloaded every car of A1GP.
Good man.
And I had a little go. And oh my God, is it such a fun car to drive? Not the Ferrari one, because that's just the F1 2004. But the original car is so fun to drive. And I'm going to download Malaysia and I'm going to do a race around it as well. One rolling, one standing, and just get into it. Because, we know where to go, don't we? We must get to the championship. Adam says, this is your segment. Go on, Matt.
That's all right. Adam says his hot was Newgarden and Blaney going into the grandstands. I thought I'd seen, because I haven't watched the race yet, that Blaney did a similar thing after winning at Charlotte, going into the grandstands there for their wins. Ed says we already do the whole season for free, Josh.
Well,
you do.
He does. I'm monetized now. I'm monetized now. He does it for free. I get paid for this weekend on for Formula E, considering, when was the last Formula E race? It was Monaco, wasn't it? When was Monaco?
Monaco, yes.
Early May. Okay, I got paid for Monaco.
I was going to say something now. Oh, yes, A1GP talking about it. More news coming out today. Adam Cooper has got a story up on motorsport.com. He's been talking to Marcin Brzezowski. We talked about A1GP on the show last week. More sort of quotes and things to come. I haven't heard anything else, so sorry. But they did say on that article that FIA Grade 2 circuits was going to be their target. So that's places like Barber and Misano and not the Grand Prix tracks. And if it's going to be a 200-mile-an-hour plus car, I kind of... we'll see. We'll see on that one. Justin Allgaier, the Kobe says, also went into the stands after the Xfinity race 2, which finished after the Coke 600. So we have a new trend. Thanks to you, Joseph Newgarden. He's taking celebrations to the moon. As long as
let's just wait for Max Verstappen to do that. So let's wait for Max Verstappen to do that at Silverstone and then not come back out again.
We do it.
He would come out.
Sure. Knots. You've done the hots. What's the knots? Go on then.
My knot is IndyCar thinking that they control everything and red flagged 3 times in 10 laps. That was ridiculous because me and Megan were sat in the commentary box wanting lunch. It was 10:30 before we ate a full Sunday dinner plus 11, gone midnight before we finally got to bed. It was ridiculous. Another knot. I'm sorry, but it's the Aston Martin team as well. It is raining cats and dogs, and you put slicks on. When did Ferrari suddenly take over their strategy department as well? That was ridiculous. And I think they lost out on a chance of winning. I said it yesterday when I sent out the video. It's going to come back to haunt them. It really will, because I don't think, I'm looking at the calendar, I think they've got a shot in Spain. Sorry, they've got a shot in Canada if it's wet. Hungary is another shot I think he could win at. I think Suzuka is an opportunity if he gets out front. But after that, I can't really see them. Qatar, maybe. Alonso was on the podium in Qatar in a slower car, so he could go well there. But that's 3 races across with how many to go? 6 races in, 22 season. Quick maths telling me around about 15 races, 16 races to go. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, 2 words on tyres at Monaco was Kevin Magnussen. What?
Oh, yeah.
What were they doing?
That's not
my fault, but as you...
Just turn the
As you
garden
mentioned.
hose on and send him out. It's ridiculous.
It's a bit
He
like
was
that lady
trying to
with the
be.
Just Stop Oil protesters at Chelsea Flower Show last week.
Yeah, exactly. He thought it was. He
My-
thought he was Ayrton Senna, but it was a bit too wet for that.
Yeah, my knots. Well, we've talked enough about Indianapolis on the network this week, so I'm going to refrain from the end of the Indy 500 because the race was pretty decent until it got a little bit silly at the end. My knots all revolve around Monaco. I've just, before we came out to do the show, finished watching the F2 feature race. That features in my bundle of knots. Victor Martins, goodness me, his brushing of the marshal's ankles as they attended to Jack Doohan's fire, that was too close for comfort. Don't forget last week on social media, I think we might have mentioned it on the show, how good is it going to be for Monaco this weekend to have FOM doing the broadcast instead of TV Monte Carlo? They insulted everybody's intelligence by putting the "that's very close to the wall" AWS graphic up in the practice session or qualifying, whenever that was. Crofty had a bit of a shocker because he said at one point, Ocon's catching Alonso, which he was. There he is ahead. Well, that's Joe. You've got the timing screen, the track map, the television camera to look at. It's definitely not a green Aston Martin. There wasn't, which is a Monaco thing because it was TV Monte Carlo, shots during an F2 race of a Formula One driver walking down the pit lane.
Yeah, that wasn't there.
They loved to do that, but they didn't do that because it changed. So that was cool. And some of the new camera angles were really good, but in the confusion and when everyone came in for their wet tires, the director had no idea what he was trying to work out. The camera cuts were all over the place. A couple of times when there was an investigation into something, the captions were all wrong. So Hauger got investigated for cutting the chicane. Then they said it was no action, and then he got a 5-second penalty. Well, what?
And then we had who was it who got the penalty twice? I think Hauger got that penalty. Novelak, yeah, he got the penalty twice on the TV screen because it was once under the red flag, and I was like, well, where's this come from?
Speeding in the pit lane, he got 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane, and then he got 5 seconds. Well, what's the difference? If he sped in the pit lane, surely the penalty is the same.
Yeah, and I think he got a 10-second, didn't he? Not even a 5-second. So that graphic was completely wrong because I read out the results yesterday in the Encore show. But yeah, that was bad. I'm hoping the reason that it was so bad, the TV direction, or it was just a little bit off, was because they've never done it before.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But I think some of the shots were great. My personal favourite is the fact is that even though I'm going to say it, they did toy with us as well in what could only be described in a manner not fit for television. They toyed with us with the start angle. Like I was standing in the commentaries, and it was like literally they were just tantalizing me with it, because at one point in the Formula 2, it zoomed in for that massive advertising banner, and then it zoomed in to the track, and you couldn't actually see the lights quickly. Then in one race, they were too close, and you actually couldn't see the lights going out. And then for the F1, they just got it right. But I've missed that angle so much. It's the classic 1980s shot, isn't it? 80s, 90s. 2001, 2001 angle of looking at the whole grid with the lights on, and I've missed it so much. I'm so glad it's back now. It came back briefly, as I said, in 2013 for a year when Tele Monte Carlo actually had a brain cell, but then it disappeared afterwards because of the big banner that said Tag Heuer, the official watch of Formula One. It's not. It's now Rolex, and I find it funny that the Tag Heuer was put down at the braking zone for Nouvelle this year, and Rolex took all their big banners. So it was quite fun, but I'm glad that gone.
When is the Nouvelle chicane not going to be the Nouvelle chicane anymore? Because it's been there for a long time.
86, isn't it? As Brundle said, it's not the new chicane. I reckon, I agree with Ted Kravitz. He said during the weekend, it should go back to being called the Port chicane. Because I think that's good. Yes. The Port chicane. It should be that. Not the Nouvelle.
Harbour Front chicane or something, one also quick, it's not hot and it's not a knot, but I thought it was funny and reminiscent of Pietro Fittipaldi. His engine blew up in the tunnel. It just looked like Damon Hill in '94. It was exactly the same, coming out the tunnel with a massive spoke behind him. It was like suddenly I've gone back in time by 20 years. 30 years. Goodness me.
It did feel like it,
Long
didn't it?
time.
It was quite
Yeah.
good. Yeah. God, 30
quick
years.
comment again there from Ed that's been sat there ready for us to read. Aston Martin looked at the weather radar rather than what was actually happening on the track. In the end, I think Alonso should have driven the strategy and been more decisive. Yeah, he should have gone with the Carlos Sainz strategy play because, Carlos just does it on the hoof from the car.
Yeah.
And he did it again a couple of times at the weekend. Magnussen was hoping there'd be a safety car. Surprising there wasn't. Well done to all the F1 drivers, apart from Sainz, who slid off the road, that they all kept it on the island, really.
I think it was the longest Formula E race. Sorry, it was the longest Formula One race in Monaco that didn't include a virtual safety car, a safety car, or a red flag, and it was 1 hour 53 minutes.
Was it really? Didn't feel it.
It was 1 hour 53, and it
Yeah.
was like we'd never had a safety car, red flag, or anything. And it was like it nearly hit the 2 hour mark. I was like, what on earth was happening? But I must say one thing. At least Formula One TV and Tele Monte Carlo have got one thing in common, and that's cutting to a shot of Kevin Magnussen out of the car without anybody realizing he'd retired from the race. 2022, Schumacher crashed, and we cut to the image of him in the pit lane. This year, we cut to an image of him out the car and then back to his car. I was like, when did he retire? We never saw anything from K-Mag box out. So all of a sudden, he was just out for 2 years.
One of the F2 races as well. Similar thing.
Yeah. It was bizarre. And I think also Victor Martins, I think, needs a race ban for nearly, killing marshals. Because it was a new rule got brought in this weekend where it was double yellow flags, so that now there's a speed limit. If you under double yellow flags, even if it's not a virtual safety car, you must go to a delta time that is set on the wet pace, so the slowest time possible, in order to protect the marshals and everything. Victor Martins completely ignored that, was going full on. And not even slowing down for the double yellows, and nearly wiped out the marshals. This was before even, I think it was under safety car as well. Russell,
yes, coming out the pit.
Yeah.
Ed said, that was one of my knots, which I didn't get to, was Stroll and Perez at the weekend. Just had shockers, didn't they? And hit everything that was moving and not moving combined over the weekend.
Yeah, Danny Rick was there. And Danny Rick was there in Australia. Perez crashes in qualifying. It's a bad race. Danny Rick's in Monaco. Perez crashes, has a bad race. So it seems to be a pattern developing that every time Danny Rick turns up, Perez has a weekend from hell. So I'm looking forward to when he's there in Canada, because that Perez can't afford to stuff it, which he's going to do. So we're in for a fun couple of weeks, aren't we, with all this? I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Busy weekend this weekend with what we talked about earlier, and we've got Barcelona and all the NASCAR stuff. Of course, we're on site with the grid team with Joe and Ben at Portland over the weekend for ARCA and Xfinity. Looking forward to seeing what goodies they can get up from their trip to the racetrack at the weekend. Our first outing of the season.
Yep, not jealous at all that the paperwork never came through and the funding never came through and the visa never came through, because now I'm monetized on YouTube. You've got to declare that you actually are going to work one weekend in the United States. No, I don't have to pay tax for that as well because I'm a UK. Oh, for God. Okay, breath and not get angry at YouTube. Yes, as you say, taking a look at our upcoming... I might just say I'm on holiday and then just take the phone. Okay, taking a look at our upcoming schedule, as Matt said, it is a busy one. Friday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, women in motorsports as well. And don't miss special coverage throughout the weekend, as Matt said, at Portland International Raceway. Joe Samaniego and Ben Schneider will be on site at PIR to cover the ARCA Menard Series West and the NASCAR Xfinity Series as well. So not jealous that I won't be there for Formula E, especially now that Ben Edwards is there, and especially now there's a hole in the commentary team. Okay, so moving on as well. Sunday, May 28th as well. Sorry, that's the wrong date, isn't it? Sunday, June the 3rd, I believe, coming up as well. 1, 2, 3, 4th. Okay, so Sunday, June the 4th, you can join us for Grid Live wrap-up. That's 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Gateway. And Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, you can join us for the Grid Live Encore show as well. It's going to be absolutely great packed weekend as well, with loads of series on. So please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for helping us reach the milestone of 600 600 subscribers. Now help us get to our new goal of 700 as well, on the road to 1,000. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notifications as well, and follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridranking.com. Take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network as well through Patreon. Join Colin, Mark, Deshelle, Robin and David and invest each month in the Grid Network as well. We encourage you to join the amazing group of people who keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can start expanding our coverage by adding new members to the team and having our team on site to cover more races. For instance, this weekend as well, Julia is at the World Superbikes as well in Misano. And as we said, Ben and Joe are going to be at Portland International Raceway. So we've got everybody on site for that as well. So if you want to do that, the link is in the video description. And if you want to do a one-time donation, click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board and invest as much as you want. And consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they will thank you on the air as well. So for Kobe Lambeth at the podium finish, there is, and for Matt White as well from Grid EPI, I'm Joshua Birch. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.